movies nerds. This is Scene and Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Hope you're having a good Monday. Looking forward to catching up with on the Emmy news and Dune and Peacemaker with you tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even though we both were on top of the news, it doesn't really feel like a catch up. It's just like, well, this is what happened.
yeah, yeah, for
um,
sure. Yeah.
as predicted by me, Adolescence took home so many awards as it should.
Oh yeah, it's by far the best show this year. I mean, really. Because just to recap for folks, as far as just to remind folks, the Emmy cycle, it was June 1 of 2024 to May 31st of 2025. Just to level set the calendar for folks who may be like, well, wait a minute, didn't why wasn't such and such show recognized? So just wanted to do that.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And it
but
was
yeah,
the Bear season 3, not season 4, that was
correct.
up. And they didn't get anything, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
were
think
shut out.
the studio shut out everyone, and then the studio even beat the Bears record with 11 wins.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So 13 total.
13 total. Okay.
Yeah, because so the creative arts Emmys were I think last weekend, and then the above the line awards were last night. So yeah, so the studio did have 13. Seth Rogen won in like four categories for uh, actor, director, executive producer, and writer. And then Penguin actually won 9 awards overall, even though it was shut out. Even though in acting categories, Christine Milioti won
Yeah.
for her performance as
Supporting actress. Yep.
supporting actress. And then speaking of Adolescence ended up winning 8 awards, and Stephen Graham, who played the father
Hmm.
in the episode, won for actor. He also won for executive producer and also for writer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we were able to see how really, really short he is.
Yes.
Extremely
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the other big headline with Adolescence is Owen Cooper became the
Mhm.
youngest person to ever win in that category. And oh, FYI, he's the youngest. And also, this is his first and only ever on screen role he's ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So well deserved. And his co-star also was Erin Doherty.
Yeah.
Um,
Doherty.
yeah,
Yeah.
Doherty. Yeah,
Yeah.
she won supporting actress as well. And yeah, I mean, that episode still brings chills to my spine. Just everything about it was just amazing.
Yeah, I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, that
Yeah.
episode in particular. I'm kind of the only thing, and I'm just gonna say this because, it's what I think, honestly, is, I don't know if I agree that Stephen Graham should have gotten it for acting
Hmm.
because Colin Farrell
Yeah.
like, the Penguin was just another thing, and there are some scenes from The Penguin that still stick in my mind, and specifically with what he did. I get it. I understand why, and I'm not like, "Oh, that was a lot of bullshit." So, I can't call it real, like BS or anything, but I still don't know if I 100% agree with that. Um, but he did overall throughout, like he was in 2 of the 4 episodes.
Hmm.
So but I'm glad that not necessarily for just the acting, but mainly for the all the awards it won in regards to the behind the scenes,
Yeah.
because the execution of that was just brought it to a whole nother level. And along with the writing, which
Mhm.
was, I think, triumphantly well deserved,
Yeah.
the directing and just the crew itself, everything they had to do to with that oneer structure. And I found it
Yeah.
ironic because that episode from the studio also took
Yeah.
home for best
Yep.
directing. And
Yep. It
I'm
did.
like, it's kind of a cheat code. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah. Speaking of, yeah, yeah, but you're right about the writing of that episode, and I'm there with, so really, yeah, I'm there with you. I think Stephen Graham and Colin both. I mean, if they could have like split
yeah,
the win, because both of them in their own, clearly Graham with especially the fourth episode of Adolescence. I mean, well, even the beginning too. I mean, just throughout, there was just so every time he was on the screen, just what that father was having, portraying what that father was dealing with.
yeah,
Um,
see, the 4th episode is my least favorite, and the
mhm,
1st episode, though, there are some scenes that do, if I really think about it, he had to do a lot of reaction,
yeah,
acting in
yeah,
terms of what was happening with his son and the helplessness in that
yeah,
situation
yeah.
and the
I,
confusion.
hmm
Like, it really, if I think about his performance in that episode in particular, I
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
And then that category was just stacked to begin with. I think, back when the nominations first came out, we were like, "Well,
yeah,
there's gonna be,
yeah.
I
You
don't
got
know how
you had
you
Walton
choose."
Goggins. You had
Yeah. You
yeah.
had Pedro Pascal in there,
So
right? Or was he in,
he
supporting
was on.
actor?
I think he was. I have to go back and look. I forgot. I didn't get a chance to look before we recorded, but
Okay.
if I recall that
No,
category.
they were in it. We're
Oh yeah,
talking about acting for a limited
right.
anthology. All right.
Limited anthology. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Noah Wiley beat out Mr. Pedro Pascal
yeah,
for the trophy along with Sterling K. Brown. So,
yeah, yeah.
um yeah,
Yeah.
the love for the pit, again, I am not surprised
hmm
from a technical standpoint about why that show has, gained so much acclaim. I still think, though, and it is so focused on getting the reality of the ER,
hmm
um, really bringing that to life, that the character moments are so few and far between that it didn't hit me, in a lot of emotional, places,
mm
but,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
I think Noah just took it home for The Pit and ER.
Yeah. 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 True, true. Yeah, I still have to watch The Pit. It's going to be, and I'm gonna definitely get it in before season two. But yeah, I saw that, and it definitely seemed to be that was going to be the odds-on favorite this year. I know Severance still. I know I haven't watched Severance season two. I did finally get around to watching most of season one whenever we had the studio, when we were reviewing it earlier.
You didn't tell
But
me that.
yeah, I mean, it was one of the. I didn't. It was like, I mean, I was. It was just one of those things I caught up most. I didn't finish it because I had the free trial, and I just so I got in what I could, but um, but I do want to, if I do turn it back on for other shows, there are some things on Apple TV now that I'm kind of like I do want to like. I think I might turn it back on
Yeah,
and catch up on some stuff,
I'm
but
turning
yeah.
mine back on soon because morning show's coming back,
Yeah, yeah.
so I want that.
Yeah. The only other thing that I wanted to just highlight from the Emmys also was just Andor, Dan Gilroy winning for writing for the episode Welcome to the Rebellion,
Mhm.
which I thought, and it also won overall 5 Emmys, both not only for writing but also it also won in the creative arts um, section as well. So, so that was another show. that and and I guess even though I know a lot of just not to get political or whatever. Well, hell, fuck it, I'm gonna get political. It was there's a lot of a lot of folks that show was resonating for the times right now. But it's very interesting. But at the same time, I mean, the stories that were being told in Andor, um, were are timeless. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I know present day people are really rocking with it because like it, in many cases people feel like, oh, it resonates, but they wrote that show like 3 years ago, and it really and Tony Gilroy had talked about how it was very, you know there were very moments in history that they used to like pattern how they were going to write the script. I'm glad the show got its props because it definitely, as far as in the drama categories, definitely was probably one of the best written shows of the year for sure. And that episode in particular, "Welcome to the Rebellion," I think that speech that my mom gave, just I think was the thing that kind of put it over the top. So
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Well, that is it for our brief discussion about the Emmys 2025. And now we are, well, this isn't a catch-up movie for me
yeah,
because
yeah. We're changing roles this week.
I technically have seen it, but I will tell you this. When I yesterday when I put it on, I had it in my mind because I'd already seen it. I was gonna have it on the background, and then
Mm.
I was gonna be doing other things and everything. But quickly I forgot how much dialogue is spoken in a different language. So subtitles.
Yeah,
I
subtitles. Yep.
also, for some reason, got sucked in.
Mm.
I don't know what it is. I do not know. And I will tell you, like, and knowing now how you ended up watching it in 3 parts, the first hour and a half is really just its own little mini movie.
Hmm.
And does all the exposition, and I had forgotten how much time we just spend with Paul learning things from Channy and um oh, I'm forgetting Javier Bardem's character name,
Yeah.
but with the Freeman and just learning
Yeah.
from them,
Hmm.
and while simultaneously Jessica and the Benedict and becoming Reverend Mother and all of
Yeah.
that. And I think I don't know, it just I've said this before on the podcast. Often I have to watch when I there's a time and a place for me to watch something.
Hmm.
And sometimes if I rush and I push it, things go over my head or I'm not into it, and it can be the most perfect thing in the world and I'm just like, "Yeah, I watched it."
Yeah.
And yesterday watching Dune Part 2. Now, it wasn't there are some boring parts. And it
Yeah.
is long, way too
It is long.
long, and it's a lot of sand. But I I did majority of the time I was clicked in, and I think some of that also had to do with like my knowledge about Dune Prophecy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when we were watching Dune Prophecy, some of the moments from Dune 2, because I had watched Dune 2 like a few months prior, I was like, "Ooh, that's a
Hmm.
that's gonna hit differently." And so all of the stuff with the water of life,
Yeah.
definitely does, as well as everything going on with Jessica. But
Yeah.
I just I I did find way more appreciation watching it a second time than I ever did the first time.
Hmm.
But now to let's hear your overall thoughts, because this is your first time watching it.
My first time watching it. Yeah. So like as we set this up, yeah, this is my first time watching it. Like last week, Sinners was the first time for you. This is my first time watching Dune 2, and I completely agree with you. Watching Dune Prophecy definitely helped hit this movie hit a lot harder for
Mhm.
me. with those key, especially with some of those key moments that you just described in particular. And I so I will say it took me a while to get into it.
Yeah.
That first 45 minutes, because as I told you, I did break it up. Um, and I honestly, I mean, from the scale, the exposition, everything, the stuff was happening.
Yeah.
But but like you said, sometimes you just need to catch things when you are just mentally there and ready to like watch it.
Yeah.
And and so I will say maybe it took me a moment to get into it, but the last hour and a half or
Hmm.
so, I was like locked in.
Yeah.
As far as just a story. You are right about the subtitles. I think that does require you to like, focus and pay attention. And for a 2 hour and 45 minute movie,
Hmm.
where there's like subtitles like interspersed
Yeah.
without it throughout it, it definitely, this is a type of movie you do have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, but I will say I did enjoy it. Oh, like you were right. Enjoyed it so much more than I did the first one.
Oh, it's so much more. And I think, and I'm just going to call a spade a spade. The first hour and a half is boring because Paul's boring.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Paul at the beginning of the movie, very boring. By
Hmm.
the end of the movie, he does become
Yeah,
something else.
yeah,
But man, for the first hour and a half, you're just like, what's going on with Jessica? Can we
yeah.
just get back
Yeah,
there?
yeah. That was that. Whenever she was having that, and like whenever and yeah, and it was when they gave her the water.
The water of life.
Yeah, and the baby was impacted. And those, so that was to me where the payoff of watching Dune Prophecy came. Like where that
Lo-
series made, it just uh, it justified it definitely just what I'm trying to say here. Its existence is justified by adding greater depth to Dune Part Two. So if you haven't watched Dune Prophecy, I know, it was a much more smaller scale because it really got into the background of the
Oh yeah.
Bene Gesserit and their formulations, and you know
It's also
how
TV.
it's also TV.
And
Uh,
Denis Villeneuve is not directing those
yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
It's
But it really, but it definitely sets, but I think it definitely helps, not only contextualizes the whole things with the Reverend Mother and the Bene Gesserit, but also it definitely helps, like, helps you get a greater appreciation of the Harkonnen and the Atreides, um, their conflict. But
yeah.
also somewhat, but I think where it hit most for me was when Paul, um, whenever he calls the Baron, grandfather. And I was just like, oh yeah, now it's like, with the whole prophecy and how
Well,
the
that
Benny
doesn't have to do with Dune Prophecy.
no, but I think this the lore as far as like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
just
I
the
guess before we, so from what I understand, um, book readers,
mhm,
um, the Dune Prophecy is also not based on the original books. They are based on books that were written by the author's son.
son. Yep.
And there's skepticism about what is lore because there are some changes made in those books, um, that don't add up for people who really understand the whole lore of
Yeah.
Dune.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're right that yes, yeah, it does contextualize a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing for me to understand, well, two things. Um, during the first movie was the politics, as well as what the heck are these women doing?
Mhm.
Like the
Mhm.
Bene Gesserits it just felt like there were moments from the first one, if I recall, it's been a while since I've seen it, where I was like, well, that's different. What's going on there? But it was so focused on the Atreides that
Mhm.
it kind of was doing so much that
Yeah.
you didn't really get anywhere. And so then you have the Dune prophecy series that beefs things up, and then Dune 2, you kind of like, okay, House Atreides, no more. Perfect setup for a revenge plot.
Yep.
But simultaneously, you've also are in this 2 hour and 40 plus minute movie explaining the politics. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, revenge is simplification, but you
Yeah.
have a lot of other politics happening between not only the Harkonnens and Atreides, but the bigger political move was the
Yeah.
fact that the Emperor, played by
Mhm.
Christopher Walken, I didn't spoil that for you, did I?
No.
he he's the one who really allowed and even helped um the Harkonnens
Mhm.
wipe out the
Yeah.
Atreides, which
Yeah.
which is a war crime.
Mhm.
Which brings me to one of the questions that I have for you coming out of the movie,
Yeah.
um, is at the end, after everything Paul has put into motion, or fate, depending on how
Mhm.
you want to view it,
Yeah.
has occurred, they hear from the houses that they do not accept him ascending to the throne.
Right.
Um, did you see that coming? And also, like, what was your reaction to that moment?
I I I did not see that coming. I'd be lying if I did say
Mhm,
that. Um, but but given what I know and given what we know of these stories,
mhm.
it makes sense that the other houses in the galaxy did not accept it.
Yeah. And why did it make sense?
Well, to your point that you were talking about how the Bene Gesserit were like, really based, were, you know, part of their part of their
Oh. Oh, I see what you're
goal,
saying.
yeah, efforts to like, keep, keep these houses in order as far as trying to prevent this holy war.
Well,
Prevent this war, well,
you
at least
may
10,000 years ago, and
you
then
you
just, yeah,
yeah, I was just like, you're making the Bene Gesserits come out, like they're the heroes when they and that's why I find them so interesting, because they're not the villain, but they're not definitely not the hero of the story either,
right,
because
yeah,
I mean, but I think what you're getting at is arguably why people should be shocked by it, but it
mhm,
does make sense in this world because of the reaction that I don't know her name, but the Bene Gesserits who was training the princess,
mhm,
like when she sees Jessica come in and pregnant and everything, fully decked out as Reverend Mother, like, she says abomination,
yeah,
and she's talking about the baby that's inside
mhm,
Jessica, and
yeah,
she's talking about Paul, because
yeah,
she's never agreed with Jessica and about how she went about this. And they've
mhm,
always wanted a female.
yeah,
Like, I thought that was very, very
oh,
important,
yeah,
knowing what we know from Dune Prophecy, as well
mhm,
as that scene with the Jesuit who seduces Fiad,
yeah,
because she secures the Harkonnen
mhm,
bloodline, but it's female.
yeah. Yeah,
It's so
yeah. That
it's so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So especially with the whole abomination thing, that was where it was just like, oh yeah, the conversation about Jessica. That's yeah, and like I said, knowing what I know now. See, if I had watched this before Prophecy, I probably wouldn't have got picked up that I may have, but it really became even more clear having the additional context of Dune Prophecy and watching this show now, watching this movie now.
Yeah, I would have I did watch it before, and
Mm,
that all of that stuff went over my head when I was half watching it. And but also I think really what I was trying to say and trying to get at is your whole point. Like that woman still had power over all of the other truthsayers. So
mm,
she's already told the other truthsayers what to tell the houses. And that's why
mm,
they say no, that they can't
yeah,
accept it.
yeah,
Because that goes against, as long as, from what we understand in this world, it's all about like the leaders are so reliant on the Bene Gesserits that they're just puppets. And
hmm,
so really, and like the start of the Holy War is this continuation of this battle between Jessica and the other Reverend Mother, who I don't know her name off the top of my head, but
yeah,
um and I'm down for that.
yeah,
And also just what the heck will this baby be? Considering the baby was in utero
yep,
when she took the water of life.
yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Um the so moving back to boring Paul,
yeah.
what did you think about the romance slash chemistry between Paul and Johnny?
Um, so that was so hard for me. That was a hard.
Mhm.
I mean, I get they did a good. I mean, nothing against the performances from Zendaya or Timothy Chalamet. I thought their performances were great. It just didn't work. I mean, it was just boring for
Yeah.
me. I mean, and I guess this is where I mean, I get why they set it up, and I think this is a difference too, if I want to say, from the book and the movie. Um, whenever he makes the choice at the end of the film.
Mhm.
Um, because I think if I recall in the book, I think she was aware of his plan to, after, to take the hand of the um emperor's
Daughter.
daughter. Yeah. Whereas in the movie they twist they changed that. So I understand why they did all the pieces of building that relationship and taking us through those scenes. And also just, and I guess also I think just to really, it was really important, I guess, to really establish Paul as, to be able to be accepted by the Fremen, not only, for their relationship, but also I think just overall, they just couldn't rush through those scenes in order for us to legitimately believe that Paul, rose to the level of leadership for the Fremen. So all of those things felt very necessary, but sometimes I did feel like, man, could they tighten it up just a little bit?
Yeah. I think that the the writing was more focused on their relationship kind of exemplifying this whole conflict between Paul trying to become a Freeman,
Mm,
but also like this whole conflict between him and Jessica of like, you want me to be the Messiah. I don't want to be the Messiah. And even
mm. Yeah,
Stilgard, Javier
yeah,
Bardem's character is like, no, you're the Messiah.
you're the
But
Messiah.
but
Yeah,
even Stilgard had to be like, you could die while you're doing this, and then well, you weren't the Messiah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know what you want me to do here.
Yeah.
And then he himself, who Paul, who has seen visions, is also just like, I don't, some of these things I don't want to happen. So I'm trying to also navigate my choices to prevent certain outcomes,
Hmm.
and not just to achieve something. And then while Chani's whispering in his ear also the idea that if you become the Messiah, it's just another form of control.
Yeah.
Like religious, and our history is filled with them.
Oh
Religious
yeah.
wars is like all over the place. It's one of the most biggest things that lead to war, lead to
Hmm.
holy wars.
Yep.
Um, is your religion and your faith. And
Yeah.
so I think that they had to really um really harp on that point and make
Yeah.
that very clear for the politics of the movie.
Yeah.
Therefore, the romantic aspect of watching two people fall in love fell to the wayside. There was no romance. I'm sorry. I've seen it twice now. I didn't
Yeah.
feel it the first time.
I.
It just, I get it, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not watching two people fall in love. There wasn't a moment where I was very convinced that Chani like saw something different.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that, and I understand like what you were saying, like I get why, but it is kind of annoying because like either then it's just a matter, well then was it really necessary for them to fall in love? But hey, there's going to be a third movie and they've clearly have a love triangle set up, so whatever.
Yeah. 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 Like. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought up the religious aspects of it and the messianic with Paul, because that so you're right. I think whenever with uh, those scenes were when those things were happening in the first part of the movie, and this the reluctant, with Paul, when he's learning how to ride a sandworm. I mean, just all those things. Those that's when I think this movie excels.
Hmm.
And and so those narratives were really resonated, and you're right. I mean, there really were good explorations of the dangers of religious fanaticism. uh we see that with the Fremen, because even within them, even if within the Fremen you
Yeah.
had, there was like the North faction and the South faction,
Yep.
so there, so I really that part of the world, exploring that world, really was very fascinating, just to sort of see those aspects where uh, get debated about, and I think that's where this I think this is where the second film definitely succeeds over the first film, by really exploring that, the
Oh yeah.
themes more.
The
Yeah.
politics, and we've now, because we watched Dune Prophecy, we know the houses.
Hmm.
This wasn't about the houses at all. This was about, well, arguably it's a little bit about Harkonnen and Atreides, but
Yeah.
overall the themes and the real deep thought pieces that and themes that play out throughout this movie have to do with the politics of the of Dune, Arrakis
Arrakis.
itself,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
and everything that's there. The other nice bit of writing that I did not catch on the first time around, um, was Madid.
Hmm.
Madid.
Yep.
So that's his chosen name,
Hmm.
and it's based off of what they refer to as the desert mouse, who
The
you do
mouse.
see in the
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
And it is a creature that is able to survive in this pit,
Hmm.
and rule. And the piece of writing that I thought was interesting, and I did not catch the first time, was the first time we see Batista's character, um, Beast Robin. He comes in and and he starts referring to the freemen as rats. Like
Hmm.
the rats are disrupting. And this is
Yeah.
like 20 minutes before we we but there's little beats like that I think are really nice. Um
Yeah.
just to circle back to my favorite character and the favorite part of this movie. What were your thoughts throughout the movie with about the unborn child? And because we see there's a lot of cuts
Yeah.
to a baby, a fetus, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then there are a lot of instances where Jessica is clearly talking to her and she's talking back, but it isn't until way late when Paul sees her, Anna Taylor-Joy, in the dream sequence that we actually start to hear her voice ourselves. So what did you think about this whole unborn child kind of being a major character in the movie?
Yeah. Yeah. It.
Did it work?
I think you know, I think it did. I would probably need to like watch it again to like really get a fuller sense of it.
Mhm,
But it did work. I mean, I think, especially especially, well, a couple things. I think it works as far as, um, whenever they do get the waters, and we see Jessica, take it early on.
mhm,
And then I guess, I mean, I know later in the film, I mean, I guess part of the reason the Benny the other Reverend Mother was like calling Paul an abomination was, I think, didn't he also, if I recall, didn't he also drink the water?
yeah, yeah, he had
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
Like,
he had to.
he had to. So what happens is Fayed comes and
Yeah,
then does an attack in the north, and
right.
then that pushes them south, and Paul's reluctant to go. And meanwhile, we're seeing Jessica talk to this person
Hmm.
who's
Hmm.
we get shown how they even acquire the
Right.
water of life,
Yeah. Yep.
which is this whole ritual. And it's very clear throughout the movie as we're seeing this ceremony from all of these different perspectives. Men do not survive it.
Right. Yeah.
And so even Jessica herself, given the fact that she's pregnant, she doesn't realize know if she has a girl. Well,
Hmm.
she might have, but she didn't realize, I don't think at that time, if she had a girl or boy. And then she gets forced into taking the water of life, and then that allows her to ascend to become the new Reverend Mother for the Freemen. And so she sets this all up because her and the baby realize Paul has to do that. That's the
Yeah.
only way. She says it like a good 20 minutes to half
Hmm.
hour. I think she even says it before she goes and to witness how they secure the water.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and 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 I think, to go back to what you said very early on, why it was the last step is because of that revenge seeking up and being the realization that you are both Atreides and Harkonnen.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Paul took it as well.
Yeah, Paul took it as well. Yeah, and then, yeah, and I don't know if that, I don't know if that helped him, like, have a. I mean, I definitely, obviously now it gives him the ability to, like, clearly, have the same abilities as a Bene Gesserit, which, able to tap into you know, the ancestral
Mhm.
memories, and and be able to see all the futures. And maybe that's where, to your point about the conversation with, with his sister. I mean, maybe that was part, but I guess that happened
That
like
happened during
during
the
yeah.
the sequence. It's just such a brief
Yeah.
moment. Like,
Yeah.
Anna Taylor-Joy is in the movie for 5 seconds. She's
Yeah.
literally the least in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are hardly in the movie, but
Yeah.
she's in it the least.
Yeah.
But, um, but yeah, he
Yeah.
so
It was, yeah. So it
I
helped. Maybe that tapped it, and it's like everything, so I guess he's, he is seeing the future, I guess he's becoming aware of everything at that moment,
Yeah.
that gives him that last little step to be able to, really.
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's different. He's
Hmm.
different after it.
Yeah,
And you can see it, and I did like Zendaya's performance of her there was helplessness there where she
yeah,
just is like, but he's doing something else now. And I know people have done this comparison before, but it's like he took it and then he becomes the sorcerer supreme.
yeah.
Remember, and
Yep.
yeah, where you can see all of the different futures, and then it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is the one that we're gonna do because no, like there was no convincing. And so then that leads us to the other question I had. My last
Hmm.
question was
Yeah.
really, so after all of that process, um, when he goes, he's in the South, there's
Hmm.
all of these tribes, and then they tell him he has to kill Javier Bardem's character, and then he has a speech, and it's a rally cry. And even Jessica like is whispering, "Slow down, you're going too
Yeah.
fast," or everything. Did you buy that performance
I
in
did.
that moment? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. Yeah. I did. I did. I completely bought that performance. Like I said, that was when I was like, okay, I made it through, and and it's, that I was locked. That was part that, and also of course when, um, um, you know, Austin Butler's character shows up, because I was looking for feed for the longest time, but
Yeah.
those were the moments that I did buy it. I did buy it. It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, I felt like that was an earned moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like it was earned, but I will again, I don't know, because I even after I watched it the first time, I listened to Kind of Funny has a great movie review
Hmm.
because Nick and Kevin have both read the books.
Okay.
So they're like so and like the books.
Yeah.
A lot.
The books. Yeah. All of
The
it. All of
books.
the books. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I even listened to, their discussion about it, but then for whatever reason, when I watched it again yesterday, so much more came to light, and then I even started rewatching their review of it, and
Mm.
then and so it the lore is so big with
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
that I'm sure that there are theses out there
Oh yeah.
that
Oh
will
yeah.
nitpick and tell you every little thing, and we probably just did the surface level.
Oh yeah. I'm
But
sure we did. Yeah.
yeah, it's also the movie's been out for a while, and the book even
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
So
We got to it. We finally got
yeah,
to it, y'all. But yeah. But no.
I mean,
But yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, yeah. I mean, how you feel like sometimes with Star Trek. That's how I feel with Dune.
mhm,
Because I know I will freely admit I am not. Haven't. This is not a universe that I have. In my sci-fi um, journey. I'm not, I'm not a Dune head, and I'm not. And it took me a while to get to the first film. I did watch the '84 David Lynch version. Um, I don't think I watched the Sci-Fi Channel version of it. Um, and obviously with Denny's movies, it's taken me a while to get. It took me forever to get to the first one, and now it took me almost a year to watch the second one. So I'm not a Dune head, but I will, but I'm glad I did watch it because this film, and I know we hadn't even talked about Austin Butler, and I mean, I know we did before recording, but I am glad I did because I feel like I would have missed out on an epic film that needs to be watched.
are you a little mad that you didn't watch it in
Yeah,
theaters?
I am.
Yeah.
I am just like I was with the first one.
Yeah.
because the scale and the scope, and I am, so when Doom Messiah comes out, my ass will be in, my butt will be in the seat this time.
You heard it
All,
here first.
because yeah, because this is twice now where I'm just like, damn it, I should have watched this in the theater because just the size and this the scale and the scope and the cinematography and everything. I mean, you know, I'm glad Denny is doing the James Bond franchise moving forward because whatever you think about his storytelling abilities, the man can shoot a movie. He can
Oh
direct the
yeah.
hell out of a movie. Yeah,
Yeah. He knows scale
yeah,
so well. And I think with a lot of his set pieces,
mhm,
he knows how to create space.
yeah,
Because we talk about this a lot about especially with the comic book stuff, and
mhm,
you have these large set pieces and there's so much going on and it becomes so chaotic, and then it just gets jumbled, and you don't know where people are, and you're just like, okay, uh-huh. But with a lot of the execution of the big set pieces here, I don't think people got lost.
no,
Um i i feel like there was a almost a cleanness
mhm,
about how the action sequences were framed and set up and designed, that in such a dirty place, it just felt very clear and
yeah,
centered. So I agree that him going over into the spy action thriller genre, very different, arguably different set pieces. I mean, you're not building an entire world. That was the other thing that um it it didn't feel fake.
no, that's the
It,
thing. I
it
mean, it
felt like
really
a
did.
lived in place.
Yeah, yeah. That as I was watching, especially like, yeah, I was watching some of the scenes, and I was just thinking that very thing. It was like, with the hell, with the aircraft and the spaceship. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, it did. It just felt real,
Yeah.
and it didn't feel like I was watching stuff on a blue screen or green
Yep.
or in the volume. I mean, it just tactile. I mean, and even the TV show, I mean, was also that same way. But in the film, I mean, that was another thing that I really just, again, my ass will be in the theater when the third movie comes out because I have now watched it twice. Sitting here at home, and I feel like I robbed myself of a cinematic experience.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to Peacemaker season 2, episode 4. Need I say door? Where and I did not realize this, and I don't know if you've picked up on this. Every episode so far has began with a flashback.
Hmm.
And this flashback is 35 years ago, and immediately you're like, oh, there's Augie and his sons.
Yep.
And they kill an alien. They mistook an alien for a deer, or a deer for an alien,
Hmm.
and they didn't have any questions about where did it come from or anything, but the alien leads them to a door, and the door essentially is what we learn in the future is the portal.
Yeah.
So Augie is not a super genius. He's just Augie, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we get essentially this episode, because it's called Need I Say Door, is about the door, the portal, and now the dilemmas. Because with every episode, just like I said, every episode begins with a flashlight, and so far every episode has begun with well, things are about to hit each other, but we're gonna wait until next week to explain it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say with the flashback, I had a thought about thought about this, especially that we learn um, that Augie didn't make any of the helmets and stuff. you know how that alien like keeps popping up in the quantum
Yes.
chamber?
Mm-hmm.
I was I was like, I wonder if that's the person who makes all the things for Peacemaker, because the guy he just keeps showing up, and even though Chris like tells him to go, calls him rude and all that other stuff. I mean, there's got to be something to this. There's got to be something deeper to this gag for James to be like continuing to like have it show up, and even the creature, even the alien shows up in the opening credits too. So
Yeah.
I might be
No,
wrong.
I'm right there with you. I'm right
Yeah,
there with you about the
yeah.
alien. I mean, for all we know, the alien that they accidentally killed is the brother of the alien that we see go in and out of
Hmm.
the portal all the time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think it's making the helmets per se, but I do think that it there because if you're in the opening dance sequence, you are an essential character in this show. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's there's definitely I thought I will be honest with you. Um, I thought at the beginning when we first see him, oh, that's going to be the alien version of Peacemaker.
It could be. I mean,
It's
it's possible. It is 99 doors. So.
totally possible, and I think it's just like Peacemaker, this and that, but maybe that's a bit on the nose. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because the alien definitely needs to get talked about more,
Yeah,
and they are saving that for some kind of tie-in to
yeah,
the hijinks that have been brewing.
yeah, yeah. But you're all right. I mean, every week we get like this build up because we thought we were going to get this big set. The way things ended with episode three, and we get this, and we what we do get is just sort of a, a repeat of a sequence that we got in the first season, but instead of being the 11th Street Kids, it's like with the Argus gang bickering over a wink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The wink, which I like the payoff
yeah.
later
Hmm.
after Economist has had enough of being called what is it cold ginger? Ginger cold?
Ginger Cool.
Ginger cool.
Yeah,
He spits onto what is
Flurry.
his name?
Flurry.
Flurry.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah,
spits onto Flurry and not and it's also like the decode him trying to delay hacking into the door
yeah,
while Chris is with Abidayo who managed to pick him up and they are trying to move the door to his grandfather's cabin.
yeah.
um so because the door can be moved apparently,
It
which I
can be
was
moved.
thinking that's very convenient.
Yep.
um, I do think that finally, Harcourt is not my least favorite part of an episode. She
Yeah.
had arguably the best scene in this movie, in this episode, the scene between her and Rick Flag.
Yeah.
Because I brought this up last week. I was like, we need to know if she knew.
Hmm.
She's known.
She's
She's
known. Yep.
known
I
the
thought
whole
about you.
time.
Yep. I thought about you as soon as that scene went down. I was like, oh, you got your answer,
Yeah.
Sarah.
But
Yeah.
I have to give it up to Rick Frank Grillo.
Hmm.
He does a really good job in that whole scene.
Hmm.
Just because honestly I thought it was going to go one way,
Hmm.
but it was so subdued.
Yeah.
And I liked that because it felt more calculated. It
Hmm.
felt more arguably menacing than if he had come in and been more over the top.
Yeah.
Um, but but I also appreciate how the scene was written because they clearly knew each other,
Hmm.
had their relationship throughout the death of Rick Flag Jr. pre death, now post death, post Amanda Waller, like all of that is so interesting. And then also how their relationship, even though they both, because of their line of work,
Hmm.
there's so much familiarity and
Yeah.
similarities between these two characters, yet how they perceive that death and that kill um, is utterly different.
Yeah.
And it's not just because, well, that was the father. She loved him too.
Yeah.
Um, in her own, like, that was a relationship, and there was, but she's also the type who and how she has been okay with it is like she blames Waller, she doesn't blame Chris.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I also it just makes me wonder, because she's got to know Chris over the last season and a half, right? And
Yeah.
they've had plenty of off-screen opportunities to have a conversation. Like, why? I think if he would know her perspective on that, that would relieve some guilt for him.
Yeah. I
So I just
completely.
don't know why that hasn't happened.
Maybe that's what they're building towards.
Maybe, but then it makes me question, and I appreciate we got an answer to that question,
Hmm.
but I think I said it last week too, that even if we get an answer, there's something still off about this just because of how the first season plays out.
Yeah. True.
Like, because I felt like that was it wasn't a big point, but it was something that was brought up time and time again. And now I don't know it, but I also understand why it's so important, such a key point this season, because it's like Waller's no longer in charge. It's Rick Flags Jr. Or senior in charge. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with that. And yes, they could build to that kind of resolution, but then I will always think, what? Why is this happening now and not earlier?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're halfway through the season,
Mhm,
and and so if we, to your point, Chris, of course, Harcourt wants to get back on the right side of the book and be
yep.
able to work again. And and I, she does call Chris. I mean, she does. Chris calls her and tells her, where to meet and stuff, and she does share it with Rick.
Mhm.
And so, do you think Chris like bells on the meeting or something? Or I mean, I don't
I
think we'll get.
don't I know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
I can see Chris bailing and not going to, well, that wouldn't make sense because he's leaving where the door is.
exactly. Because I
So
was thinking he
he's
could go
not
back.
driving to go see the other Harcourt.
Yeah,
He is going there. Um, but I don't know, with how she's playing it, I can't say for 100% hmm, that she's not going to do something that, like, allows her to play both sides.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so
Because I'm just rooting
I
for
guess
because
it's also, well, again, we're halfway through the season, so we got another 4 episodes. So we know that something happens where this doesn't go necessarily all according to Rick Flag Senior's plan.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, does she like tip Chris off, or I don't know. I'm just like I said. I mean, how does she threaten? Because we're we're waiting, you know, we're waiting to see how they thread, where the other shoe drops in both universes, and maybe because we know at some point we're going to have to go back to Earth 2
Hmm.
and resolve those kind of things. So, does Chris turn around and go like you said, go back to the shed, to the cabin, and go see Harcourt 2 and Earth 2, or maybe he does see maybe some because how I thought things were going to sort of like this week, for example, they set things up like Chris was heading back.
Hmm.
He came back to the house, and they were doing it seemed like they were setting up this whole thing where Argus was going to be able to get the door, but then they have the convenience of that
Moving the door.
spiritual, yeah, be able to move the door. So now I'm to the place where I'm like, okay, instead of I guess I'm trying to instead of just letting things just roll and just watch it as it comes, I'm thinking like ahead, like, okay, now where is James going to go in this story to like prolong prolong this
Hmm.
moment, because when I thought we were going to get, when last week I thought we're gonna have Argus like babe, get to the trap door is be able to move the door. So now it looks like Harcourt is going to turn Chris in over to Rick Flag Sr., but something's going to happen on the drive there that Chris is either not going to make it to there, or Harcourt's going to like have second thoughts and actually tells Rick, actually he's going somewhere else. Then of course you got you have Captain Cultural Appropriation, fair, has sorted out where Eagly is. So, well, so is that going to be the thing that detours Chris from actually meeting up with Harcourt? Because there's that aspect of the story too. So, or even Judo, yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out like where are they going to go with this as far as like, because I know they're not going to like they're, they're not going to have Chris and Rick like face off in episode 5.
They could.
They could. They could now, and I could. Oh
Like,
yeah,
for all of our listeners also, I love how Will is spinning his wheels about this, knowing that we're headed into Gen V week. So next week we
yeah.
aren't talking Peacemaker, and we are both not allowed to watch the next episode of Peacemaker until after next
Yep.
week.
Yep,
So,
exactly. So I'm just like, dang on it.
well, and
uh, uh, it's like we got
I'm
One
just,
Piece rules. The One
yeah,
Piece rules kick in. Yep.
the One Piece rules have kicked in, and I'm just, meanwhile I'm just like sitting back like I'm not thinking too far ahead on this show because we're taking off a week.
Yep.
I mean, and this show, I I don't, I hate to be a broken record about it, but this season there's, it's not that I'm not enjoying it,
Yeah.
um and for its strengths, I just don't like the continual cliffhangers. like
Yeah.
like I feel like every episode has begun with the flashback, and every episode has led to a cliffhanger that you think is going, there's going to be some big resolution in the next
Hmm.
episode, and there's not.
Yeah. Well,
There's
see,
not. and
yeah.
and that just, it just bothers me because um that just makes me want to binge. I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very curious in 2 weeks when we're able to watch both episodes 5 and 6 back to back, if I'm going to have a very different experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my money is I'm going to appreciate those episodes a lot better
Mhm.
because I don't have to wait a week in between.
Well, see, yeah, I meant I should have told you at the outset, like you can't use the bench excuse this week. But but for me, I tell you where I'm enjoying these episodes, but you know how I started off our discussion about the bit with the van,
Mhm.
uh, different folks, but basically just switch out our kids with the Argus crew, I'm starting to see the repetitive pattern
Hmm.
of, to your point, and I think so. I'm enjoying the episode. I'm enjoying the show, but it's not hitting me like season one did.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. Um, and it's not saying that it's bad because it's not. It's
No.
not bad at all. It's just I'm seeing the patterns in James Gunn's writing right now. So yeah, hopefully, so hopefully, like, to your point, episodes, maybe episode 5 will finally, like, we don't spin our wheels so much. Because I
Yeah.
do feel like sometimes, I mean, there were some nice things that we do get in this episode. I mean, we learn more um about Economist's background, as far as, like, how he got recruited into Argus, as far as, like, hacking into the CIA. So those are nice little character beats that we're learning. I feel like Adrian this season has been criminally, I mean, underutilized. The moments that did like the most, really, with this episode, was Adebayo, and the moments that I still like, with her and Chris, when they have their, like, this week, whenever she was, she had placed the ad in the magazine, and Chris, like, well, actually, ads, this is just, there's only like 12 people who subscribe to this thing. But it just, whenever they have their moments together, it just, I mean, John Cena and Daniel Brooks just plays act so well off each other. I just love there's just I feel like a genuineness in moments between those two, between the two of them, that, yeah, so I look forward to their scenes together, because I just feel like sometimes the other ones just sort of, like, don't hit me as much as they should.
Yeah, I agree. That was the other standout moment, was when Chris and Abidayo got had a heart to heart, because
Yeah.
I like it because she's that, I don't want to say devil, but
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want to say angel on his shoulder of trying to be
Mm-hmm.
like, she definitely was playing devil's advocate when he
Mm-hmm.
was explaining to her what he's experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think was, though, I was like, I wanted this conversation in, like, episode 2.
Yeah.
Like, and I also, with her, I mean, I think, and I've said this before about all of the supporting cast, I think in a weird way, they're all being underused.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange thing where, yes, we're getting little things, but I still feel like we're standing in place with a lot of the stuff. It
Yeah.
feels like things are happening to these characters. The characters aren't making things happen.
Yes.
Maybe that's
Boom.
the
I
way to
think
put
that's a
it.
good way. Yeah, I think that I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a Yeah, yeah.
So which, and that just leads to momentum and pacing issues,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
but like you said, it's not that it's bad, it's just that, this is what happens when you do seasons 2. You're gonna get
Yeah.
compared to the first season, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
are.
also, you're also more accustomed to, I mean, considering he released a movie that he also wrote earlier this year, like, we're very accustomed to James Gunn's writing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you start to get experience, you become a little desensitized to things,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
start to see the cracks,
Yep. And you see,
but yeah.
yep, no, the cracks, the patterns, yeah, and yeah, because I think, to your point, like you said, we have the pattern now, as far as how the tempo of these episodes, and so he needs to mix it up. And I
Yeah,
know he comes back and direct. Yeah, it's not even the direction; it's clearly the writing, because I think the direction of these episodes has been great. It's just, you know, I mean, but James stepped away, and some other people have been directing. But I think he does come back and directs episodes, I want to say 7 and 8. So
that's good. That's
yeah,
good. And but you're right. It hasn't really been, I haven't criticized the directing
yeah,
of any of these episodes. I've just been annoyed with character choices and plot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the little things,
The,
the little things.
the little things, yeah.
Very minor, very minor. All right. Well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd. And visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.